So I'm originally from Pennsylvania. I was born in Reading, PA, and then I lived in a small town called Pine Forge. We're about 50 miles, not 50, about 45 minutes west of Philadelphia.
Hmm.
So I'm a Philly boy through and through, but
Yeah.
we lived here in Indiana for the last 9 years this year. So
What made you choose Indiana?
a whole lot of things. So I went to school in Michigan. That's where I met my wife. But then out of college, my first job was University of Miami. I worked for admissions in the film department, so I did all the help with the marketing and whatnot. And we knew we didn't want to live in Miami for long because it's expensive. I hate the fact that hurricanes come through, and it was just like it was like the end of the world for everybody. So a job opened up at Notre Dame, and we knew the area. She has family up here and everything, so we were like, well, let's just move back and see what happens. And then we've been here ever since. That's when I started to kick off my freelance career more. And then that's when I started working with Moment, and then we did the whole Saint 16, and that's where we are now. So it's a hodgepodge of things, but it's nice. It's cheap here. We have our kids live here. It's quiet, and I like the contrast because when I fly out to LA or Atlanta or New York, the city life is cool and all for work, but like I want to go back to a quiet
Yeah.
country life. So that's why I like to be right now.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. I technically work as like a local in New York or local in Philly.
Okay.
But I live in central New Jersey near the beach. I'm in like a bit more of a suburban area. This is where I grew
Okay.
up, this area.
Nice.
And my wife and I decided to move back here about 2 years ago, specifically for that reason of just wanting a place to raise kids and just like grow a family and also just be closer to family. Especially because I started traveling a lot more over the past 2 years. And there was one instance in particular, I believe it was like in October, maybe 2 years ago. I think I was home for 5 days the whole month.
Jeez.
And she was home by herself in like an area where we didn't have anyone close to us.
Yeah.
And after that, that was sort of like a big change for us. We just needed to move back. And we ended up finding a place here, and it's a bit more of a drive for me to get to the airport or get to New York or Philly, but
Same.
compromise is well worth it to be able to come home to sort of just peace and quiet.
I agree. Any major airport for us is about 2 hours every direction. So
I mean, that's way further than me, so I feel like
but we make it work. So, and if the production's paying, then I'll go to try to go to the Chicago's the easiest to get, not easiest, but it's the cheapest to get out of in terms of for production and whatnot.
Airport.
It is a big step. Yeah. O'Hare is the largest airport outside of Indianapolis and Grand Rapids here. So, but yeah, it works. But that makes a lot of sense. I realize as I get older, it's like I want to be closer to family. Now I'm just trying to get my parents. My parents still live in PA, so try to get them up here. They're older, so it's like, guys, you gotta retire and get over here now, so so I can take care of you.
Yeah. So going back to PA, did you grow up kind of having an interest in film? I know you said you went to school, you went to Miami, you did film and the admissions, but like, how did your start in films come to be?
Yeah, it started with photography, actually, just like many of us have. So my dad had a camera, and since I was in the countryside, photography was not like a sought after career. So I had no influence other than the early days of YouTube, like very early days, and then a bunch of books that I remember Brian Peterson was like the GOAT to me when I used to read all of his books, how to learn the camera and whatnot. And then I just took a bunch of nature shots. My dream started to be, want to work for National Geographic, traveling the world. So I held on to that as much as I could. So every opportunity that I did have to travel, I treated it as if I was commissioned to go out for National Geographic, documenting people, documenting locations, animals, all that stuff. And so I went the college route. Now, mind you, I grew up Christian, so there's a few schools that had like BFAs, Bachelors of Fine Arts in photography specifically, and one was in Michigan. And so I did that track, and I did so much of the early groundwork, just learning the camera, composition, lighting, all that stuff early on in middle school and high school. When I got to college, I was bored. I was extremely bored because all the classes your freshman, sophomore year are just basic stuff. And so they brought in documentary of film my sophomore year. And I love movies, but never thought about it being a career or anything to learn more to it. And I took one class, fell in love with it, took all the classes they offered. So directing, composition, lighting, editing, all the classes. And so that's where everything kind of started. I started to do YouTube a little bit at the time. It was more of like Vimeo when Vimeo was a
Right.
thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, it's still a thing, but yeah, Vimeo is very easy because you can upload songs that weren't going to be taken
Copyrighted.
down.
Yeah, for
Yeah,
sure.
exactly. And so it started with that, and I started doing jobs around the school. I was a photographer for our gymnastics team. I was a school photographer, and then I started doing more video work my senior year. And then really the first big job I had was during my senior year and just out of college was a documentary for my church. We did a documentary on Noah's flood. So we traveled all over the
Mm.
West Coast, into Nevada, into the Grand Canyon, all these major monuments to document evidence of a flood. So that just took off from there. So I tried to do everything video related, and then that's when I learned about directing, cinematography. But I was still very much in the uh, higher education realm, making my own little projects here and there. Nothing on the grand scale that I'm doing today. So, but it's been a really great, I think, journey because one, my parents, they were very supportive when I was young.
Oh, that's
They
awesome.
didn't
I love that.
understand. Yeah, me too. They didn't really understand what my interest was, but they understood that I was talented, and so they just kept encouraging me,
Mm.
and which was what I really needed because everywhere before college, everything I did was, oh, that's a cool hobby. Oh, that's this, that, and yeah. There's going to be the scrutiny, and I use that as like watch me do what I do.
Mm.
And the Lord blessed it. So that was really cool to see. And yeah, I've seen so much of the world in my years here. And I'm so young. I'm only 34, 34,
Yeah, man.
34. Yeah.
Absolutely. When
Yeah.
you started taking those courses on directing and cinematography, I'm curious as to like which one of those really started to spark your interest, if you had
It
to
was
pick out of the two.
definitely, yeah, it was definitely cinematography because it was the technical and the language of a moving image. And so being from photography world, everything's still, you try to capture it, try to capture everything in one photo or a series of photos. Photo essays wasn't
Mm.
always my strong suit, but photo essays is very much a good practice to get into cinematography because you're building one frame after the next. And so once I started taking those classes for cinematography, I said, "Oh wow, this blew my mind open." I started to really start building references that I really loved, movies, short films from Vimeo, everything I could to kind of study it, and I kind of just took it and run with it. And I didn't really get to practice, I guess, true cinematography, in my opinion, until um, after I got out of all these corporate jobs. It was more like
Mm.
videographer work, right?
Right,
So you
right.
kind of show up, simple
You're kind of doing
lighting,
everything.
yeah,
Yeah.
doing everything, audio and stuff like that. Not until I got out of that and started doing smaller budget commercial work, that became really apparent of my flaws and where I want to grow. And
Mm.
I just love the challenge of being able to be better, get better. It was nerve wracking, of course. You want to. For me, it was nerve wracking because I didn't want to show that I was lacking, but at the same
Yeah.
time, I learned quickly that filmmaking is a team sport. That's like one of our slogans at Sun 16. It is a team sport, and so you need a mentor if you don't know these things. Because if you know, sometimes when you run into some money and stuff like that, and if you don't actually have all the answers, it can look bad. It can sometimes make and break a young career, depending where you are. So I learned early on and quickly that I need talented people around me to help me, and then vice versa, help them. So I love the aspect of filmmaking from that standpoint. Is team effort. Everybody has very skillful and very detailed what they do, which only makes the project and a whole better. So
Absolutely. I'd
then
love
I
to.
definitely do. Sorry, I also learned a lot from you watching your
Oh
channel
man,
early
thanks.
on. I've been a fan for a while, you and Danny. So it's like,
Thank
it's
you.
an honor being here. So thank you for actually reaching out.
Of course, that means a lot. Yeah, I want to dive into a little bit more your sort of transition from videography into cinematography, because I know that there's a lot of people that listen to this that are sort of on that cusp of wanting to
hmm
transition into those,
hmm
but maybe don't know how, or maybe they have a sort of fear that's blocking them from actually doing it. So, what is your story to sort of transition from videography to cinematography?
Yeah, my story is very much a slow transition. I didn't jump off the deep end, as some people think they have to. And I understand there's like this urge of I'm missing out, this FOMO that you're missing out, or everything's kind of moving too fast and I need to catch up with everything. I did take the slow route for my cinematography journey. And I used to think that I needed to be fast with it too, but I ran into some barriers, finances for one, that was a big one. But for me, I guess the best way, sorry, for me, my journey was very much, I took every moment in my life that had relation to filmmaking, very important. And I made sure that on the back end, I was doing my due diligence of being a student. Like I didn't
Mhm.
stop thinking that I was at the top. I never thought that. I always kept it very level headed because I always compared myself. And sometimes I know we say comparing each other to our peers can be damaging, but it also just gauges where you are. And I think if you have that mindset, that perspective, then you'll say, okay, I want to be there. How do I close that gap? And it's
Mm.
constantly closing that creative gap. It's,
Yeah, that's
it's a
funny.
podcast, roll credits.
Yeah, facts.
But it's very, yeah, it's
I
very
think
much that where,
that's kind of where the title came from. Yeah.
yeah. I think you said that a couple of episodes
Mhm.
ago. But it's very much that. It's like where do you? It's a lot. It's and everybody's journey is different, but you have to build an awareness of where you are
Mm.
and where you want to get to, and learn how to network, know how to talk to the right people or people that you at least admire that have something that you want. Be in a space to be a student underneath them, and build and grasp some of those building blocks to help close that gap. And the beautiful thing about closing the gap is that you should never close the gap because we're always learning, right? Even our greats that we look up to are always adding something or tweaking something, or to say I'm lacking this. Like they're very aware of where they are, and so that gap is the chase that I love because it's going to continually progress us. And
Mhm.
so, wow, I just really went really heady, really fast. But,
Yeah.
um, yeah. So for me, knowing that early on allowed me to make decisions better, to where I am. I made some quick decisions of where my career was going just because where the money was going.
Mm.
Um,
Can you
but I
elaborate on that a
always,
little bit?
yeah. So like I said earlier, I was, coming out, my first, I guess, salary job was working for the University of Miami. And I was making probably about 48,000 as a single, young man. And, I always try to have a 9 to 5 of some sort
Mhm.
and do a side hustle. Because growing up, you always hear, you don't want to be a starving artist. So that was the fear of being a starving artist. So I just made sure I played it safe. That's why I say I took the long game. I didn't take a lot of risk. And so I allowed my 9 to 5 to dictate what I was doing in terms of the projects I took on outside of work.
Mhm.
And that just allowed me to build some money up, even though I was not good of managing my money early on, but it allowed me to take risk outside of my 9 to 5, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then, as I grew in the space of corporate work, I was learning how to be a professional in that space while learning to be a freelance and be a professional in that space. So as my corporate jobs elevated and I needed to move on from it, I still had that mentality, knowing that I wasn't fully ready yet to step out by myself. I will continue to look for that corporate job to sustain me still, and still practice and still get into the areas that I wanted to. And so that's when I moved to Notre Dame, and I was a higher pay. I think I was making about 60,000 dollars and it went up to about close to 70. When my tenure there, I was about there for almost 4 years. And then we started the family. So it's like all these different elements that started to dictate how aggressive I should be in my freelance world,
Mm.
comparative to my corporate world. And then the biggest jump for me was leaving the corporate world to go to a tech company, not a startup, but Moment was a tech company. I call it the hipster version of B&H.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
yeah,
that's funny.
Keelan, Niles, all of them, Taylor, all
Yeah.
of us there, and that was the most money I was making at the time. I think I was close to 90,000
Hmm.
at the time I first started there, and that was great. But of course, more money, more problems. But that was the first real, I guess, risk in terms of fully becoming. Even though I was hired by the company, I was employed them. We very much ran it like a freelance. So we had products that we had to write scripts for, create all the marketing campaign for, all those things. We were very much freelancers in that space, and so that allowed me to really grow and understand how this can become bigger. And at the time too, I was still I had my YouTube channel, my first YouTube channel. I've had 3 YouTube channels now. Oop,
Oh, nice.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that was my first one. So I was learning back into that. So it became, I'm becoming an entrepreneur, a creator, all these things, all these different skill sets. Then that helped build the confidence that I needed to take risks, to say yes to specific certain jobs. All the while I was traveling internationally too, so
Mm.
it was a lot. But I definitely see my journey as I took the slow route. And I think that's okay. It's okay to have a 9 to 5 to figure out things so you can have some stability, because that's the big thing that freelancers don't freelancers want to break out of is like, I have my 9 to 5 and I want to break out of it. And some of us do have that urge and that itch to break out and do that. And some are very successful. But I just say, have a plan, dot and cross all your T's, dot all your I's, have a plan. Just don't do it willy-nilly, especially if you have a young family or a family in general. Just, yeah, you support. You got to be more wise in that space, I
Right.
think.
And you said
Yeah.
that you weren't ready necessarily to make that jump. You said that before. I believe when you were leaving Miami, you said you weren't ready to make the jump
Hmm.
yet. What was going through your head in terms of thinking that you weren't ready, or what would have made you ready in that moment?
I think it was a combination of things. I keep bringing finance. Finance was definitely the main one. I knew I had some debts I owed, but then I had this really bad habit of spending money I didn't have. So taking out loans, spending on credit cards, very much gear hungry in a lot of different ways.
Mm, mm.
And I knew it wasn't about the gear, but I couldn't shake this idea that if I buy this, and I'll be better at something else. And I
Where do you
knew it
think
was
that came from?
consuming content,
Mm,
content that's when you consume content and you just don't listen to what's being said, what's being fed to you, then it becomes almost brainwashing in a way. And you don't listen to you don't listen to the actual wisdom that's out there. You kind of just chase the popular thing, the trending thing, the thing
right.
that the algorithm serves you to say, hey, you might like this, right? And if we're not careful of that, that becomes damaging in a lot of ways. And then next you find yourself with lenses and cameras that you don't use, but no work to actually use them on.
Right.
And it's funny, I just put out a video today about sort of like this topic is like being professional. What does
Mm,
it mean to be professional outside of just the visual style that you're trying to chase or the gear that you're trying to chase? And so yeah, for me, I knew I guess I've been very self-aware of a lot of things where I am skill set wise. I didn't fully understand the lighting language. I didn't understand the full production world in a commercial
mm,
space, and so I've had small projects, small little productions here and there, and it was us trying to figure out things. And so I knew myself. I don't like looking like a fool either. So like
yeah.
I didn't feel confident enough to put myself in that space. And there are instances where you should, so you can get that rust and shut off that fear to do that. But I didn't even have the opportunity to even do that anyway. I kind of the journey that we all took once we got out of Moment, we got hired. We got added to a director's roster almost just a few months just after we had left Moment and started our production company, and that was daunting because being uh, being added to a director's roster just out the gate, even though our I guess producer at the time, he had a lot of confidence in us of what we can do and the skill sets that we had no idea what that production world was like, and the etiquette that you have to have when you're on set, when you're dealing with a multi-million dollar budget, when you're dealing with 60-person crew. Like that was very eye-opening. Thank God I had my crew with me. So we all kind of like we all grounded each other in that space. But putting my shoes in somebody who's in a solo, who gets a solo director and who becomes part of a roster, that can be very daunting if you haven't had enough of that experience. But it is rewarding when you have a team around you that can facilitate growth, that can facilitate sharing that knowledge, and being able to kind of prepare you for what's to come. We had that with our agency. Previous agency was Rakish. Now we're kind of shopping around for a new one right now.
This episode is brought to you by Chiva Collective. Chiva is a new platform I've been building for creatives, filmmakers, and freelancers. It's about mindset, discipline, leadership, communication, and building a sustainable, healthy career, both on and off set. Inside, we'll cover everything from business and finances to health and wellness and nutrition, to leadership, to communication, to creative ownership, and much more. If you're somebody who wants to push your career forward, grow in community, and invest in yourself, now's the time to join the waitlist. Head over to chivacollective.com. That's chivacollective.com. Sign up and be the first to know when the doors open. Join the waitlist now, and I look forward to welcoming you to this community. Going back to sort of the gear aspect, and watching videos, and you see the new piece of gear and you want to buy it because it's that shiny new toy or whatever. And I know that you also create videos on YouTube that talk about gear, and I'm curious as to like, how has your experience with purchasing gear, the positive and negatives of it, sort of influence how you create videos?
Yeah. Great question. I do my best, especially now, to whenever I do talk about gear. Also, I'm in a very niche space. I try to talk about gear in context of me actually using it on set. Sort of like what you do when you do talk about your Sony Venice and everything like that. It's within that context, so it's very specific to the things that I need. It was tempting early on to try to chase and put out content for every new camera that comes out, but man, I got exhausted just thinking about it. Yeah. And so right now, in terms of camera, if I talk about any camera, it's specifically to that camera that I'm actually owning and using. So right now it is Fujifilm, but I've kind of transitioned from Blackmagic, Lumix, and the Marvel, Kinefinity Marvel. But it's always pertaining to what I'm actually using. And oftentimes I try to make that distinction while saying it in my video, because sometimes some people don't have that awareness, and not to put them down, they just don't have that awareness to think that, oh, since he has this camera, he's making this work, it's the camera. I'm like, well, exactly. No, it's the tool that I chose because I like it. And I think we've gotten away, YouTube has obviously kind of run with it, but we've gotten away from just like liking something and using it because we like it. And that's it. That's where it stops, because it's just a tool. Everything else that comes with it, the way you approach the project, the way you approach the treatment, the way you distill that, the way you talk about, to have those conversations, that's more important. That's how the look, that's where the look comes from. That's how the camera movement comes from, the conversation of how you direct the talent. All that comes from that, not the camera. The camera is just what you use to point it at. Yeah, man, and so I try to do my best to really make that clear with whatever I make. Yeah, sometimes it's a review because a brand sponsors my channel and they want to put that out, and I tell the brand, yeah, I rarely do a first impressions video because I want to spend some time with it. I might not make the embargo, but I'll have something a little bit later, and most of the time they're okay with that. And so I try to make that clear from the back end of what I'm receiving gear. And then in the front end, it's like, here's how I actually use it and why it would be useful in my workflow. And I don't try to say yes to everything either. I just don't have the creative brainwidth to do that. And it's just,
I think I say no to almost everything, to be honest with you. I say yes to maybe 1-2% of the things that come in on the YouTube side of things.
Yeah, and it's funny because I'm bringing in YouTube because it's very much my 9-to-5 now outside of directing. Directing or DP work, I treat as sort of like my bonus check throughout the year. Because I mean, in reality, we probably see a couple boards, maybe about 8 boards a year these last 2 years, and we will probably win about 3 to 4 of those boards. And those jobs take a long time. I'm thinking about your post about, you said earlier on Threads about, can crew members
Oh
get
yeah,
paid? Yeah, that's a very good point. And I say that I bring this up because I think about all the time as a director you're spending in the treatment phase with the agency, and all that time is unpaid work.
right.
And I
Yeah,
think
and
that's
you
some.
replied to my thread about this. Yeah,
Yeah. Well, for me, I maybe that's different from some other brands, and you can negotiate that with other agencies and your contracts and stuff. But from all the traditional brands that we worked with, like Home Depot, Walmart,
right.
Ford, these different companies, they don't. There's no upfront cost. All everything's paid afterwards once the project is at least in its um, after we wrap, it's at least 30, sometimes 30 to 60 days after being paid, and that is a crime, but that's another conversation to be
Yeah, it's a
had.
whole thing. Yeah, it's a
That's
whole
a
thing.
whole thing, and I think that needs to change. And we noticed that too. It's like, man, that's insufferable, man. This is like, dad, people have that's why I brought up like YouTube is my 9 to 5, and I had to structure it such a way where I had to make income, not just from ads alone. Ads are pennies in this space. Sponsorships are where it's at, but also had to be very uh, intentional of what sponsorships I want, because
Yeah.
I don't want that to run my channel either. And so
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm really curious about that because that's something that's been, yeah, on my mind a lot as I've
Hmm.
started to grow in YouTube as well. Is,
Hmm.
you
Hmm.
as you grow, you obviously receive more opportunities within
Yeah.
sponsors, and you get approached with a certain amount of money or gear, free, free gear and money, whatever. And at first, it's tempting. It's like, oh
Yeah.
wow,
Yeah.
this is awesome. This is exactly what this is what I hope for. But then at the same time, if you sit back and like actually analyze it and you see all the sponsorships that are coming and you say, yes, yes, great, great, then before you know it, you are just a YouTube channel that is full of sponsorships. And that's all
Yeah.
you are. You lose
Yeah.
your sort of authenticity. You just lose who you are.
You lose your voice
You lose your voice
quickly.
for sure because your
Quickly.
voice
Yeah.
then becomes this sort of corporate voice of the brand that you're trying to talk about.
Hmm.
And I'm curious from your perspective, what are some of your checklist points to say, yes, this is the one I want to say yes to, or no,
Hmm.
these are the reasons why I'm saying no?
Hmm. Yeah, I love that question because I think about it a lot, and I guess I have different tiers. So I do want to do. So this year, especially, this was the first year I really hunkered down on YouTube and figuring out what's the pacing, how many videos I'm going to be uploading, what sponsorships that I want on the channel, what will be the best. And I think about this a lot. What sponsorship would serve my viewer the best? And
Mhm.
that's where I start. And if it's helpful for me, it will be helpful to someone out there. So there I haven't gotten there yet. This was very much the first year to push for that. But this year, for me, it's always a mix of like what's an editor focused sponsorship, what's a day-to-day filmmaker type of sponsorship, and then what's a holistic lifestyle sponsorship. And those are the
Mhm.
buckets I want to kind of fit because it kind of hits all phases of my current audience. And my audience demographics is like 25 to 35. And so I'm trying to think about if I'm that person watching, what will best serve me as the viewer. And so right now, of course, we all kind of have at some point we all kind of go across having a music platform
Yeah.
sponsorship.
I think that's like standard for
It's
everybody.
kind of it's kind of standard.
Yeah.
I have audio right now. So then I have that phase, and then when it comes to like that day to day filmmaker, it's a mixed bag of things. So
Mhm.
I guess my most reoccurring sponsorship is some sort of lens deal, and I think that helps both ways because optics are way more important in my opinion. You will agree than a camera is.
Yeah,
What you're
I agree.
putting in front of that lens, or what you put in front of that sensor is going to really dictate the look. So I say yes to a lot of different lenses because one, I'm a lens snob. I love optics. I message do close lenses, every so often, or I watch a lot of lens reviews just to see details or different nuances and where I can kind of add to my own toolkit. But I say yes to a lot of lenses, even if, well, not to a lot, but right now my pool of lenses I say yes to are DZO. I've been in a long time partnership with them. Nisi, Seven Artisans has some unique things. I
Mhm.
got this fun little lens with me. And then I'm trying to hit the big wigs, like so Cook. They've hit me up, but they've been slow to answer. Cook hit me up, and
Hit
some
him
other things like
up.
that. Yeah. So like I do that because I think that's a very viable piece of gear that all filmmakers want to see the characteristics of and how does it look in different scenarios. So I would say that's something I say yes to often. And sometimes it's not even for compensation. Sometimes it is for exchange, a lens exchange for a video, because I can actually use that for what I'm doing.
Right.
And so then the next phase, I haven't gotten there yet, is the lifestyle phase. What is a
Mm,
sponsor that I can say that can break out of the circle of filmmakers, that can reach more people. And so, finance is very dear to me because my wife and I've been on our debt recovery journey. So that's something I've been thinking about, excuse me, a lot is, is there a financial thing to kind of promote? But that hasn't come yet. But that's kind of like how I think about sponsorships. What's going to best serve the viewer? And sometimes and people don't notice, it takes, I take less money sometimes just because I want to be able to say that it's true to what I believe is best to share with you.
yeah.
And it's not always chasing the dollars. Sometimes I have to rack up a few things in terms of like using my Instagram as leverage to promote stuff. Instagram is a whole nother thing I'm trying to figure out, but YouTube is where I want to be able to say, this is me and this is where I think will best serve you as the viewer.
As you've developed on YouTube from when you started to now, how has your approach changed? Like, how have you developed as a person on YouTube,
Oh,
and sort of like where do you see yourself right now in terms of the space?
dude, I have to say, you are a very good listener, and the way you approach your questions is just, I'm always impressed when I listen
Thank,
to you talk.
thanks, man. I appreciate it.
My favorite thing about YouTube right now is writing. Like I
Mm,
spend so much time writing scripts, and I've never was a I hated language in high school. I hated writing papers in college, but this is the most enjoyable thing that I've grown into ever since starting YouTube is the writing process. And and on top of that, analytics, understanding. I very much enjoy just everything about YouTube because it's such a I'm my own boss in a way, right? I'm controlling my own narrative in the space, but I'm also learning how this can be a powerful tool in so many different ways outside of just making revenue. It teaches you so many different facets of the job. And it also bleeds into my work as a commercial director because the boards that we tend to see are social focused boards at times. And
mm,
so a director that cares about the process of social media is something that agencies love, and this is why
mm,
we get work. Because since I do this from day to day, I'm in the trenches. I'm looking at the data. I'm watching content that helps me rethink how I'm serving content to my viewers and the viewers beyond that. And so being a student of this space has been really fun and grow into. Before, I thought it was just a simple formula where it's like, yeah, talk about this gear, show some pretty B-roll, and then the views will come. And it was like that early in YouTube. Today, it is extremely hard to get any attention because everything's changing almost from month to month on this platform, and and it can be stressful. But I see myself as a trying to be an expert in this space with the knowledge I have outside of YouTube that I can bring it into the YouTube space, but also being a student of how I can learn this platform and the tools that's available to me to put out the best content. Sometimes the views don't always show, and and when I'm in conversations of sponsorships and stuff like that, which I actually need to start sending emails out, but I need to I use that data to tell them, like, yeah, I'm not the type of channel that's going to try to hit I'll never say this right, but being viral. Like my channel isn't about being viral. It's about talking to my core audience
right.
and and if for you, it's about clicks. And so the core people that trust my word and my decision are the people that are going to actually click. And
Mm,
I know that what matters to
mm,
the sponsor that I'm talking to, the brand I'm talking to, that's what matters to them.
mm,
Some want views, some have standard for views, and I tell them, and I sometimes say that's just not what I am. I can't guarantee if this video is going to get 10,000 plus views.
right.
I can guarantee you might get that in a month or two, but it's not going to get 50, 60,000 views because that's not the way my channel is built. And I'm building my channel off of sort of evergreen content. There might be some things that pop up, but I want to make content that people will tend to look up, over time.
Right.
And that's, dealing with SEO, that's dealing with certain things. But also it's like sometimes you need just emotional videos like how you
Bro,
put out.
that's like all what I'm doing right now.
Yeah, exactly.
And to
Sometimes you
be
need the
honest,
emotional. So
yeah,
yeah.
to be honest, they don't really, it's weird because they don't hit. Like I don't make them necessarily for them to hit in terms of
Right.
the
Exactly.
algorithm.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I know that from a sponsorship perspective, when you look at my channel, some of the videos are like, oh, like some of these do well, and then some of these not do well at all. But
Hmm.
I, I'm trying to figure out where I fit in still on YouTube. And I think
Yeah.
I've said this since I started. I don't even know where I fit in because I
And
don't,
I don't think you need to fit in. That's the thing.
right.
You've paved your way of content, and I respect that. And I think that's unfortunately YouTube doesn't always reward that, and we see that. And that's the thing we're always fighting. Is that we have to fit into a niche. We don't have to fit into a niche. You don't have to fit into a niche. You are doing your thing, and I listen to that content.
I
And there's a
think
lot of people. Mhm.
what's been valuable to me and what I've sort of realized is that the less that I worry about if YouTube sort of makes my video hit per se,
Mhm.
that is less important to me than looking at the comments and seeing 30, 40, 50 people being like, wow, this made a
Mhm.
difference. And
Mhm.
that to me
Mhm.
is more important than seeing that video hit 10,
100%.
20, 30,000. If it only hit 3,000, but 45 people commented saying that it impacted them, that to me is way more important because like you said, I'm trying to build a community of people that
Yeah.
actually find what I'm doing to be valuable to them. And I'm
Yep.
not trying to hit a mass audience. And,
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm on the same page with you in trying to build that really strong foundation of a community.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, of course, more views will be nice, but
Yeah.
I always look at the back end of my channel, what videos are still getting hits and reviews. My channel is very healthy. And I think that's because I decided to hunker down on the core audience, the core foundation of why my channel is actually successful. And so I do my best to understand the metrics on that end and see, and I do make small tweaks. Like I'm the type of nerd that goes in and makes small tweaks to titles and thumbnails to see if it does reach the
Hmm.
next phase and stuff like that. So like that stuff does matter to me. And that's helped my channel to be continually growing. I'm approaching, I think, 50K
That's
subs.
amazing. Congrats,
It's
bro.
awesome, dude. That's all. Like, thank you. And it's just like, wow, it's taken 3 years, but it's
Yeah.
like I did it the way that best served me, and also I think that best served the viewers. And so I'm very proud of it. And so I can tell that there's no there's this momentum that's building, and I want to make sure I stay true to that. Of course there's going to be some one-offs that might do really very well and that might be successful, um, but it's always important to me to just have fun, still have fun with the platform, the
Mm,
process, and I still have fun. I know there's some YouTubers that I know that it's like, oh, I'm tired of the rat race and this, that, and the other. Luckily, it's like it is my 9 to 5, but it's not everything that I do. I try to have multiple baskets of revenue and just multiple baskets of just outlets for me to just stay sane, so I can walk away for a little bit and then come back and still enjoy the process.
mm. Love
Yeah.
that. One of the reasons why I hit you up initially was because I saw your sort of transparency and honesty when it came to finances in particular.
Hmm.
And to me, that's been very important for me as just a freelancer, as a DP, as just a person in the space, is to be able to understand finances and have a basic
Hmm.
understanding of financial literacy. And when I first started seeing some of your, you made a couple videos, you posted on Threads about it. I was really, it, it opened my mind a lot, and I
Mm,
really did
that's awesome to
appreciate your
hear.
sort of transparency towards that, because I think there's a lot of people in our industry that struggle, that
Yes.
don't really feel that they have a voice to even maybe talk about it or just express,
Hmm.
or maybe they feel alone in it, that they're the only one that's going through it.
Yeah.
So, before we dive into it a little bit deeper, I'm curious as to like what made you sort of spark talking about this publicly.
Yeah. Oh, what did
Because I know
So
it's not easy. It's not easy
oh,
to do.
it's not,
No.
and it was a lot of conversations with my wife and I because it stems from our own realization of where we want to be financially in a few years. And we think about our kids. My son just turned 4. My daughter will be 6 next weekend. And
Wow.
so we're just thinking about just the future of things and how we view money and our relationship with money. And this all stems from our studying of the scripture and how the Bible talks about finances and how to be good stewards and really understanding where our good gifts comes from. So all of that kind of start to bubble up. And I did realize like, man, there's nothing in the space for me to turn to. Like I was watching a lot of financial videos, Dave Ramsey and
Mhm.
some other people out there. And it helped build that courage of like, I do need to just talk about this, rip this Band-Aid off, because there's this it's taboo to to act like I don't say taboo. It's common to act like you have all of these toys and then you're making all this money, but in reality, I know for sure people like me who do spend these monies frivolously are in debt
Mm.
or dealing with debt or think debt's okay or all these things. And so um I just got tired. We just got tired of being in debt. That it was just like I'm
Pressure.
sick of it. Yeah, I'm sick of it. I'm sick of living paycheck to paycheck. I'm sick of just thinking that we might not have money if we need an emergency. I saw a stat was like, you know, I might butcher this, but like 60 or 70% of Americans don't even have $500 set aside for emergency. I don't know what the exact stat is, but it's
I
like
read something similar as well. I'm
something similar. It's
familiar.
around that percentage. Yeah. So I was like, holy smokes, that's me. Right.
Mm.
And so it's like,
I
this
mean, that
needs to
must have been,
change.
I mean, reading that and thinking to yourself, that's me, has to be a huge wake up call.
Oh, massive. It was like a slap, it was a punch in the face. And I think about all of the jobs I had, all of the things that I was making money all my life, but I didn't have the evidence of that money. As in I had no savings, I
Mm.
had no investments, I had nothing to say, yeah, this is all the money I worked for. Where is it? In gear. Where is it? In depreciating assets. It's like, what am I actually doing? And I'm
Mm.
34 and I don't want to be able to say that, we have a repo come and all that stuff. Granted, we're not perfect where we are right now, but we definitely got our heads wrapped around what we need to do and the plan that we had it. So we sat down, created a budget. Every single dollar that was going out of my account was accounted for. And we said, we don't need this subscription. We don't need this. We don't need that. We wanted to try to find the margin and get it down to the bare necessities first. What can we actually live off of? I was making, before our first year at 16, we were all making like roughly $115,000 a year.
Hmm.
And I was still living paycheck to paycheck. Like that doesn't make sense to me living in
Right.
Indiana with such low prices of where we are with food and everything. So that just lit a fire under our butt. And we were just like, well, let's just live within our means, below our means in a lot of ways, and address this behavior with money. And that changed a lot of stuff this year. This was the first year where we didn't. The first few months was hard because we had to figure out, our rhythm of things. How
Right.
often do we look at the budget?
Mm. I was
Getting
going
the
to
budget.
ask if you
Yeah.
could dive into a little bit of that sort of transition, because,
Yeah.
you go from not thinking about this in terms of the benefit of having a budget and, maybe not caring as much about money to being very specific on your budget and now being very conscious of where your money goes. So that switch can't happen immediately. So like, what is
No.
that sort of transition like?
Yeah. I mean, to be really nitty gritty, is like understanding what are your triggers to spend.
Mm.
That was the first thing we had to tackle because that's part of the behavior. And really understanding when to set aside money and don't touch it. And when you have that urge to touch it, that's what you had to address. And so that's what it started out the first few months. Granted, I praise the Lord for this because our first few months, we had some backlog money that was needed to be paid for us from jobs that we didn't do the previous year. And that was nice, large chunks. So that definitely got us to start. And for me to kind of manipulate and move money around where I needed to and start pushing money a little further ahead. So we started to build our emergency fund. We started to build our 3-month expenses as well. And that forced me. Also, another thing that forced me was tithe and offering. So in the church, we believe that that the Lord wants us to give 10%, and that's not so much to say that we do this and we get a reward. It's more of changing the behavior of your finances, and it creates and fosters this willingness to give. And so we were practicing that. And so once all of that came out, taxes, tithes, and then savings, we were forced to deal with what we had and be stewards of what we had. And so and you had to tell yourself, this is all we have. So once those bad habits creeped and you dipped into those funds, you're taking away food, you're taking away medical, you're taking away, you're forcing yourself that you're what's the word I'm looking for? You're kind of deterring that behavior because you're forced to live within that budget. And so that practice for the first 3 months was hard, and it
you're
wasn't
building new
perfect.
habits, and building new habits at all is really hard.
And so one of my bad habits is I spend a lot of money on apps. Like I like games, and so in-purchase apps rack up. Just, as soon enough you have $100, soon enough you have $200. I play a lot of Xbox, so I have like subscriptions that are just, I can use my time more wisely doing other things. I used to say that's my outlet, but now I have a son who wants to play football with me, who wants to play cards with me. So it's like I had to reallocate my time. And so all of that kind of all of that forced us to make that habit and to get into rhythm. And eventually, again, when I got you, and also this was a scary time for us because this was the first year that we didn't know where our finances would come from. This is the first year I'm fully freelance, still attached to 716, but we decided to how 716 worked was we'll split a pot basically. Once a job hit, we would split it amongst ourselves to pay everybody's salaries. This is the first year we decided to not to do that. Everybody kind of fend for themselves. When there is a big job, we will split the big job, but everything else in between is on our own. So this was the first year where I went back to being a freelancer, using YouTube as a means of finances. So getting those deals are really important for me to kind of
sustain
the family. And so, so that was a scary thing to try to be on a strict budget because you had to at this point of any funds coming in. So once we got into the rhythm, it did get easier. And it's a lot of conversations with my wife and I. Now, she was never the one to look at a budget. Now she looks at it actively. We talk, how much do we spend? I almost became obsessed with it, not in the sense of like, I'm fearful of it, but it's like, let me create this new habit where I need to look at this budget more than once throughout the month, not just the end of the month. And I have all my tabs and my little, spreadsheet, everything listed out. And plus we had to tackle debt. We had to figure out how we're going to reallocate funds to pay down our debts. A lot of our debts are in collection now. We paid off at least $20,000 worth of debt already, which is awesome. We have
Congratulations.
Thank you. We have no active credit card. We don't use credit cards anymore. Everything's cash flow in terms of debit. And so, it's not, there's so many different voices of like, debt's good or debt can be working for you. For me personally, debt is just evil. It's always been evil to me. It's always been a shackling. I've been a slave to the money, and I want to get out of that. So right now we're working towards that. And, yeah.
How do you think that this sort of transition between, your previous versions of yourself and the financial aspect to now has sort of helped you and your wife and your relationship?
Oh yeah. Yeah. We were scraping. We were just like, where did all of our money go? And that definitely put a strain on our marriage. And early on, you would, people would tell you too, like the reason for one of the percentages for divorce is because of financial, lack of finance for most cases. And that can cause divorce. And so I don't like being statistics. And my wife and I, we sat that, it's like, are we going to let finances pull us apart, or we're going to figure it out together? And it was that constant, and we didn't really have that turning point until this year. And we've been married it'll be 7 years in October. And so, yeah, just to not let lifestyle creep come about. Have you heard of that term, lifestyle creep?
I feel like I can kind of get the grasp of it, but if you don't mind defining that,
Yeah, yeah. It's essentially just you're living outside of your means. It's
right?
like I'm making five thousand
Keeping up
dollars a
with the
month.
Joneses type.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. Yeah, I make 5,000 a month, but I'm spending 7,000 out of
Mm,
nowhere for no for no
mm,
reason. So like living, so lifestyle creep was big for us. We love to eat out. Food is always going to be a big thing, and we just had to just hunker down. I love cooking, but if I'm tired of editing all day or I've been calling all day, I don't want to cook. So I'm gonna go buy something, right? So it's like changing those habits. And we're not perfect at it. It's still up and down. But then what we do is, well, if we go out to eat, it's just going directly to our food budget. And if we don't have any more food budget, then that's it. We had to say that's it. So so yeah, very much. It's improved our communication. It's improved our trust because she's a
mm.
big spender. She spent money when she didn't have money, and that stressed me out. And I used to think too, like in our marriage, even though I was even though in a marriage, we share everything, everything's one to one. I deep down felt the money that I was making is mine, and so when she would go out and spend the money, I would get upset because it's like you spent the money that I had saved for this, that, yeah, for our livelihood, and I had to come to a turning point to realize that it's our money, and she has to also feel the effects of spending the money irresponsibly, and it's not just me. So it goes both ways, and understanding that anything that we make comes to us together, and we have to deliberate it together. It's not just on one side anymore. And so that's another thing we definitely practice. Before, if we haven't done that, I think we would have definitely been in a very strenuous relationship. But having that awareness and understanding that we love each other. We want to make
Right.
this work. So let's figure out to make this work. Let's pull egos aside. I'm not going to sit here and act like I have everything figured out. You're my partner. You're the person I need to go to first and foremost, and let's figure out this together. So, and we're doing that.
That's amazing, dude. I'd love to hear
Yeah.
that. Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
I know you have two kids, and
Hmm.
I'm curious from a parent's perspective, how do you approach sort of teaching your kids about finances? Have you guys talked about sort of the importance of educating your kids eventually on sort of your guys' struggle versus, how you overcame it?
Yeah. One of my current bad habits still is I'm a collector. I collect Hot Wheels.
Oh
And
man.
brother,
You got
brother,
some hobbies, dude.
I got some hobbies. They're really nerdy hobbies too. And my son loves it. And so sometimes I noticed I created this both in my kids, where we'll go to like Walmart and something, and their initial thought is, oh, we're going to go get a Hot Wheels toy. And
Mhm.
that's the thing I unintentionally created now because they see daddy go buy a Hot Wheel and say, no, this is not for you. This is for daddy. And that's the thing now I'm currently trying to break right now. So in terms of learning, we're figuring that out. And it's more of this conversation, making it really, really simple for them is that, do you have money? Can you work for this? Like having those simple conversations with them. And then now the conversation is funny is when we go to Walmart, it's like, we're only going to go look, not buy. That's what they say to me, unintentional, like
Yeah.
unprompted. So it's kind of funny when that happens. And, or they'll see a toy, it's like, I need to work for this. It's like, there you go. But it's still that idea. It's like, they want to buy a toy
Mhm.
versus like, let's talk about how to put this money aside. They have a little piggy bank, like all the money that aunts and uncles and stuff
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that
yeah.
send. We tell them this money is to be put away. It doesn't get touched. And so, and I remember my dad tried to do that to me young. My dad's actually an accountant, and which blows my mind that I'm so bad with money and I had an accountant in the house. And so I just laugh at all the things that I
Well,
remember
were
he
you taught
told me to
about
do.
finances growing up?
Yeah, I was taught about
Yeah.
finances. I just didn't care. I just like,
Mm,
well, this is my money now. You can't tell
right.
me to do with my money.
Right, right,
I'm
right.
my own person. And then next you know, hey dad, can you bail me out? Hey dad, I need you to pay for it. Like, so I had to mature from that too. And I've just apologized. I was like, Dad, Bill, I'm sorry, man. You tried to
Mm,
tell me and I didn't listen. So but hey, a love of a parent is powerful. A true love of a parent is powerful. He'll still guide me and stuff like that. So
yeah.
yeah.
I think one of the biggest things that I see, people struggle with in the freelance space, and I think I did. and sometimes do as well still, is trying to create a budget within a career that isn't necessarily
Mm,
super consistent.
mm,
And it's harder to do that because one month you might make 5,000, next month you might make zero, the next month you
yeah,
might make 20. And
yeah,
instead of, your every 2 week paycheck that you would get from a standard 9 to 5, you have to kind of
yeah,
create a budget based on your perceived income.
yes,
And especially if you're fairly new in the freelance world and you don't necessarily have 1, 2, 3 years of sort of backlogged, income that you could look back, okay, November, I made 5,000 this year, I made 4,000 the year before, and you can kind of create a sort of rough estimate. In
yeah.
your experience with your wife and kind of, in this career, how have you sort of created that budget within an inconsistent sort of career?
Yeah. So, yeah, great question. So right now, like I said, YouTube's my 9 to 5. So coming into this year, it was a top priority to figure out some sort of steady income that I can account for each month, even if it's $2,000, even if it's anything that I can know that's going to come about monthly. I try to lock that in as quickly as possible. Granted, not everybody has an opportunity to say that with a YouTube channel, and I get that. But what I'm trying to say is if there is any sort of funds that you can try to account for on a monthly recurring basis, use that as a foundation and build from that. For us, it was definitely oh wow, I just lost my train of thought. Sorry, repeat that question again. Is this
Just creating a budget within like an
yeah,
inconsistent career. Yeah.
yeah. My I had several goals early on to really work for was to at least have one to have money saved for at least a month ahead, and that means I had to make a lot of money that month to actually do that. So for us, for instance, $5,000 a month is our baseline. That covers every single bit of necessity that we need. Covers bills, food, rent, everything. $5,000 a month. That's our baseline that we need to cover. So I had to do every little odd job. Granted, like I said earlier, we had some backlog money come in, but I kept the mindset that I still needed to make at least $10,000 that month so I can have 1 month ahead. And there's no direct answer to figure out how do you make that money. It depends on the market that you're in, depends what you can do. It might actually just, you might have to take a 9 to 5 job just to do that. And then, eventually get out of it. But for me, it was very much like I needed a baseline. I needed to know what number we needed to hit in order for us to start moving forward. And then eventually that budget would dwindle down a bit because we needed some things we didn't need to spend money on anymore. Like I had this one big thing that I felt was just spending frivolously is our phones. So my phone bill, I have Verizon. Verizon, I have a love-hate relationship with them. Because they always incrementally add a surcharge here
Yeah.
or there. But I was spending at least $360 on our phones. We have 2 phones and one iPad.
Mm.
And I'm like, why is that so high? And I looked at it. I was still paying like, when you do the upgrade thing, they spread out the payments over a 2-year contract, whatever that is. And every time I paid $350 to it or $60 to it, it wasn't even moving the phone price. So it was like $38 a month, and they will split it up across, and it was like $14. It wasn't even moving it. So I'm like, what the heck? And so I made sure I went into every single account, phone, whatever it is, to see where I can get that price down. If I'm a long time customer, I'll negotiate, say, hey, I've been with you guys for 4 or 5 years. I don't like, wait, is there any deals, special deals, anything like, I just straight up called them and say, is there anything to lower this bill? Because I don't know why it's so high. The phone bill, I needed to pay off the device completely. So if I had like $900 left on this device, figure out how to pay it off as fast as I can. And I did that. So none of our devices have a device fee. It's just the line now. So that helped lower the bill. So like through that time of having a baseline of a budget, still try to work at the budget to get it lower even more,
Yeah.
to get a true baseline. And that's going to help, figure out your income on the flip end, how much you need to make. If your goal is to just get that month done, you'll have a number now to hit to at least. Now, I'll try to overshoot that number again because I want to try to be a month ahead or at least have some money for $500 for emergency. And then eventually when I made that kind of snowball effect of getting $10,000 to $12,000 a month, I tried to build our 3-month savings account in case there was a down month. And there was 2 months where I made no money, but I was able to rely on that 3-month reserve because I just knew it's like I had to plan. I had to plan ahead. I can't sit here to think that this month is all I have. I had to, if I have things going on, and it's a lot. It's a lot for one person to do that. I do all of that. My wife doesn't do that. She takes care of the home, and that's her job, her responsibility. She does it absolutely well. She takes care of the kids. And so my job is to figure out and project where our income's going to come in the next 1 to 2 to 3 months. And it's not easy. But
No, I'm with you. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not easy. And especially if you're only trying to do is cinematography your only income stream?
No, so I
Okay.
have being a DP is my main income stream. That's where my predominant amount of income comes from. I
Yeah.
also
Yeah.
co-own a half ton, or I co-own like
Sick.
a small genie company as well with someone in Philly.
Okay.
That to me, that's technically passive income for me. It was active income for a while.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
everything, the van itself paid off. I don't owe anything on the vehicle. All the equipment
Awesome.
inside the van,
Paid
lighting, grip,
off.
everything paid off. There's not a single dollar that's owed on that business except for expenses like gas and tolls and maintenance.
What
So
a
all that,
great feeling that is, isn't it?
yes, big time. So that's another stream of income. YouTube is another stream of income. What else? What else? What else? Sometimes the podcast is, if I'm lucky, every once in a
Yeah.
while.
Yeah. Yeah. Like sponsored or something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. And I am currently building another business right now that will hopefully
Yeah.
be another sort of stream of
Awesome.
income.
And I love to hear that because like it's funny how the evolution of filmmakers is not even filmmaking anymore. Is we're entrepreneurs, right?
Yeah, for
We
sure.
have our trade, but then we're utilizing that trade to figure out other revenues to sustain us. I just started a rental company here in Indiana this year, just locally, and everything that I have is already paid off. So I'm making everything's profit now, right? I don't have no margins to try to hit or anything like that. And so I'm trying to utilize that. So it's like, okay, do I need to put that into our personal finances? Do I need to set money aside? Right now, this is the funny thing too. Is like for me, I have an LLC, and I know some people might roll their eyes. And like at the beginning of the year, I had no idea I was going to make. Right now, we're sitting at $186,000 in a year. I had no idea I was going to make that money. So, so now I got to think about, okay, I need to have an S corp because taxes are going to kick me in the butt next year, and I know that. I'm probably going to pay over probably $25,000 of taxes probably next year if I'm still on this trajectory. And so, so there's that to take account in an
Do you do
account.
your own taxes? Do you have an accountant or use your dad?
I hire a CPA. My dad
Okay.
is
Yeah,
my
yeah.
dad is. I don't want to bother him too
Yeah,
much.
yeah, yeah.
He's a little older. No offense, Dad. But I'm going to hire another CPA. I did a CPA last year. I'm gonna do it again this year, and I've been bookkeeping and everything like that. I took a risk on myself. I only been paying half of what I need to put aside for taxes just because I want to be more aggressive on the debt. For me, it's hard to have savings and do this, that, and the other
When you have the
when
debt
you
hanging
have the
over you.
debt.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I
I needed
understand
to
that.
move. Yeah, I need to move a lot of that out of the way as quickly as possible. So I took a risk of not putting aside as much as I should for taxes. So I'm going to take that hit on the back end, and I'm going to talk to my CPA and figure out, what to do with that.
I
And
think
stuff.
having a relationship with a CPA has been one of the biggest benefits that I started probably 4 years ago or so.
Nice.
Prior to that, I had an accountant that I didn't really know too well. I didn't really necessarily trust. It was from a family friend. And I remember one year for tax. Well, first off, backstory. The first year, I mean, some people have heard this, but I think it's eye-opening a little bit. The first year I was ever in LLC, the first year I was ever freelance, I didn't know anything about taxes. And I had no idea how to save for them. And when I got my
Yeah.
tax bill at the end of the year, I had to empty my bank account.
Yeah.
Completely
Yeah.
completely
Gone.
gone.
Yeah.
And from there, I, worked with an accountant to be able to figure that out, and not realizing that that accountant wasn't actually doing his job. And I got a bill for $40,000 I had to pay in taxes.
Oh,
And
wow.
luckily, I ended up finding a new accountant that same year who told me that I didn't have to owe anything because that accountant had no idea what he was doing.
Oh, wow.
So,
Okay.
the point of this story is, if you're going to find an accountant, I highly recommend it, but don't just live with the one that you have. If you have a great relationship with one and you find that they care about you, they care about your business, they care about
Mhm.
actually
Mhm.
seeing you succeed, fantastic.
Mhm.
But if you feel like you're not getting attention, you feel like they're not, treating you like they should, then that doesn't mean you have to stay with them. Find somebody that truly does. And the accountant that I currently have now has helped me tremendously. And over the past
Awesome.
3 years, he's helped me get my books to the point where I was able to buy a house with my wife this year. And
Congratulations, man.
thank you.
It's
And all
huge.
of that is just because of the relationship I have and, explaining my goals with them.
Mhm. 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 Yeah, and yeah, that an accountant is definitely next on my list. I use the platform called Found. It's
Mm,
sort of like your digital accountant, which has been very helpful because I just read all the articles that they have on what to look for, how to, manage certain things. So I've taught myself how to do that, but now I want somebody else as a third, second opinion for sure to be like, hey, look out for this or look out for that. Because I definitely want to, I need to start thinking about an S corp. Not to say next year is going to be the same trajectory, but at the same time, for tax purposes and everything, are you S corp now or?
no, so I still do something with my account where I try to I usually expense a certain amount. I put a lot into my retirement account, and
Mm-hmm.
I usually have enough to kind of cancel out to be able to owe a certain level
Okay.
of taxes that keep my income at a certain point where
Mm-hmm.
I'm not crossing that threshold to S
Threshold.
corp
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah. 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 Yeah, that makes sense. So yeah, like learning all of this is just that's the next level. Just kind of really
Mhm.
wrapping your head around it and understanding that. But that's awesome to hear, dude. It's like yeah, that's a whole other backstory too. It's like being freelance is understanding how to really manage your money in all phases.
Yeah.
Um,
I'm
yeah.
transitioning into a whole different mindset right now. Like, I bought the Venice and I bought my cinema
Mm-hmm.
lenses that I have. And to be honest, I'm looking to get rid of them. Not the
Mm-hmm.
Venice, but I'm looking to get rid of the lenses and some other things just because I want to reduce the overhead that I have. I just want to
Mm.
simplify my life a little bit.
What
And
does that look like? Like simplifying.
simplifying means just reducing the amount of stuff that I have. Also, some of the stuff that I have to pay for that I haven't paid off yet, and
Mm-hmm.
trying to
Mm-hmm.
reduce sort of my general expenses. I don't have that much debt at all, besides my camera,
Mm-hmm.
my lenses, and a couple other really small things that I usually pay off every single month in terms of
Yeah.
credit card.
Yeah.
But it is important for me to try to minimize all of those things to reduce that overhead and just sort of live a little bit more in peace. I think that's really what I'm searching for
Mm-hmm.
when it comes to finances is just where can I
Yeah.
start to find more peace?
Yeah. 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 Yeah, finance is especially in today's climate. Our industry is all over the place. People are just losing jobs here and there, or just not sustaining jobs. So I know it can be very daunting for a lot of people. It was daunting for me just figuring out what to do with this year. So um, I mean, I'm hoping, from what we're talking about, people will hear this and kind of just figure out things. That's the real reason why too. Is like I'm so open about it. To
Yep.
getting back to your question you had like 40 minutes ago.
That's okay. Yeah,
um,
yeah, yeah.
it's just it's somebody needs to say it, and it's just one of the principles in Proverbs is not even Proverbs, but it's like the parable of the talents. When the rich when the master goes out and gives a talent to each one of his workers, and each one does something slightly different with it. One hides it and doesn't even touch it. The other one goes out and invests it and doubles it. The other one saves it and still does it still. And I don't want to be that third one who goes and hides it or just wastes the time. It needs to be active and needs to do something. But I do need to clear off of debt. I don't want to owe anything. And
Right.
so in that mindset and
Yeah.
working towards that goal, because I want to be able to give. I want to be able to give freely without any hesitation.
Hmm.
Um, and be a blessing to someone else. And we've done that this year, which has been amazing to say. It's like, how's it that we still owe right now we owe $150,000 of debt. And we're able to pay for my mother-in-law's, medical, bills and be okay still. It's like, that's a blessing in itself.
That is
So there's,
amazing.
there's something there where giving freely does change your perspective, change your habits, And so, of course, think about your family first, think about your own livelihood first, but then be able to help somebody else if you can.
Mm-hmm.
And that's my goal. That's where I will find peace, I guess you would say, with my finances, because that's what we're called to do, I believe.
Amazing.
My kids are outside my door.
I got one last question for you, if that's
Oh,
cool.
you're good. You're good. You're good.
Yeah. How is your evolution of what you determined success to be? Like as you came up, what was your definition of success, and how has that changed?
I guess before my younger self, it was to be recognized. YouTube
Mm-hmm.
is a little narcissistic anyway in that vein, because we were in front of the camera. Hey, listen to me. I kind of grew up as a middle child anyway, so I had that complex anyway. It's like my voice isn't heard. And so success for me in the beginning was like, oh, I can have a voice and people can actually hear me without interruption. I mean, no matter what they're doing, how they're watching it, they have that one-to-one opportunity to hear me talk and share my ideas. Very narcissistic of us, but for me now, I'm still figuring that out. To be honest, I don't. Success comes in many ways. I guess right now, I guess the most immediate need success is my family okay.
Mm-hmm.
I love my wife. I love my kids. As much as I work and take long nights, and sometimes I sacrifice my time with them to make sure that they're okay and they're safe. That is where I'm putting my everything into, is making sure that they're okay if anything does come up. And so that with that goal in mind, like I've been saying, it does change the habits. I had to really look at myself and see, how am I spending my time? Man, I have that urge to just sit down and play Xbox for 2 hours, right? or or do what I need to do for X, Y, and Z. But I have to be weary of my time, spend the time with the Lord, spend the time with my wife, and then the kids, and everything will follow after that. That's how I measure success. If they can be free and run around in the grass barefoot like that's awesome to see. They have no worry, they have no care, they're not seeing us stress. And so right now, that's success for me. Career wise, just continue to make good work. Um, I'm still striving to make that piece of work that really has my voice and my fingerprint on it. Still not there yet. Because where I am right now is very much a team effort, and the voice of the collective of 716 is what's dominating the work that I do. But the opportunity will come where I'll get to put my stamp on something and say that I did it to my best of my abilities, and I'm very confident I could do it. I'm just waiting for the opportunity. Sometimes I might even need to make that opportunity, but right now it's not the time. So yeah, I don't have a definite answer, but other than my family and the health of my family and the safety of them is really what success is. The success I hinge on right now.
Amazing. Love to hear it, dude. Thank you so much for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me, man. It was a pleasure.
Absolutely. Where can people find you? Where can people watch you? Please share whatever you got.
Yes, Cine Dailies is my YouTube channel currently. Is CineDailies. And it should be like that across all platforms, exactly that way. And eventually I will be starting, speaking of other YouTube channel adventures, I'm starting 2 more channels.
Oh, nice. If you weren't
Yeah,
busy
so
enough.
yeah, I know, right? But one with my wife and I, we're going to start a
Amazing.
podcast, and then a personal finance channel. That's
Beautiful.
what I'm working on. Yeah, so
That's exciting, dude. I'm really excited to see that for you.
no, appreciate it, man. Again, thank you so much. This was an honor, and
Thank you.
yeah, I got all my nerves out. So
Yeah. Hopefully you were good. But thanks, man. Really appreciate being here.
yeah, thanks for having me.
All right, everyone. Hopefully you enjoyed today's episode. Peace out.